From your clinical approach or what you've seen in your experience, would you say, and let's just talk maybe just the U.S., would you say mental health is on the rise or decline?
Oh my goodness, it's on the decline. I can't imagine that it's anything different. There's so many data points that tell us that the increasing distress in people, the increase in isolation, right? Not just one person isolated from all others, but the isolation of like how we believe, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
someone thinks or believes, whether it's one point of view amongst a bunch of rational points of view, or it's a point of view that's entirely false. Like if I want to think that 1 + 1 is 3, I'll bet I can find a whole group of people who think that too. And now I don't have to go look at that anymore. Right. Then I just think 1 + 1 is 3. And if you start telling me it's 2, well then what's wrong with you? Like I can't hear, right? I can't hear new
Yeah.
perspectives. And then we get much more defensive. So much of this has happened. I mean, the rise of interconnectedness in social media does help, right? It helps through venues like this where we're trying to get good information out to people. And there are a lot of other venues it helps. But there are a lot of ways in which it's done a lot of harm. And we have something that's powerful and not adequately understood and controlled that could do good and harm. The harm will outweigh the good unless we take control of it and make the good outweigh the harm. So I think our ways of communicating, the political situation, the pandemic, the wars, that things have gotten worse and we just have minimal resources, absolutely minimal resources. You think about the things we spend money on. We spend millions of dollars because there's somebody's a political argument with someone else, and now there's a bunch of things going on to fact find something everybody knew the answer to anyway. Just one example. Right? We spend money on so many things, but we're not doing things like looking at the bridges, right, that are in disrepair. I mean, if there are giant barges going underneath bridges and there are pylons on both sides where if the barge hits the bridge is going to fall over. The answer to that proposition is a bridge is going to be hit and fall over at some point. Right? We know that. So why don't we go look at that? Why didn't we look and say, hey, that bridge in Baltimore is at risk? Or now we see other bridges are at risk. I see it in the news now. Are we going to do anything about it? Or is it easy to say, well, it's not happening now? Right? Just like it's easy to say, congratulations for your military service. Good luck. Instead of saying, that's not right. Right?
Yeah.
What do we have that's more important to put resources in? Right? Why don't we go look at every bridge, the safety of every road, the health of everyone who helps take care of us? Well, it costs billions of dollars. Oh, what are we wasting billions of dollars on? We got things more important than that? Not much.
What? Not that this is possible, but what do you think the impact on mental health would be if social media platforms got shut off?
I mean, it's like all of them, or in a selective way.
Well, it was about a month ago. I think Facebook was shut off for about 4 hours, and I think Instagram was associated with it, and people were losing their minds. And for me, I was like, oh, this is great. I don't have to be on my phone.
Right.
I'm just curious what you think. I don't think the human species is capable of evolving at the velocity that these platforms are and the interconnectivity that you talked about. We have access to untapped information. Largely, it's like an 80-20 anecdotally, negative to positive. It's this compare and contrast. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's just, I'm wondering if it was all to shut off. I mean, obviously, we'd have to deal with the chaos and people thinking their life was upended. I tend to think, though, that the net of it would be quite positive.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Why? Because I think now the net of it being there is quite negative, even though there's
Yeah.
so many good things, right? But because it's uncontrolled, and then it's easier to destroy than create. This is this human story. Right? It takes a long time to build a building. They knock it down very, very quickly. So it's much easier then to use any powerful tool to destroy, to be destructive, than it is to create. And that is true of social media too. So yes, I think it would be true. If we shut it all off, it would be net positive. But that's, again, shame on us as a society for it being that way to start with, right? And think about the short-term view of things where we're saying if people are looking too much at this week's or this month's, results of health for a company, or I'm surviving now, and that's got to be good. I'll survive next month, instead of thinking I can't survive this for another year. And so this has been a growing problem: the inability to defer gratification, project into the future, more of like I want or need something now. And so think about what you said. Facebook gets shut off for a day. People are like, don't know what to do. Hey, that is way too
Legitimately.
much need for immediate gratification. I mean, think about how that speaks to what we're talking about. And we need to whoa, stop let's get back to basic principles of how we're living our lives and how we're looking to feel good. Because if you're feeling good because of things that are happening in the moment, right, in the moment, then you're not thinking ahead. And it's interesting. So people then often don't feel good because something is turned off. We see this when there's an outage of one of the news sources or this or that. But you just described what comes into us by and large, like from news sources. So it's like 80-20 or more negative. So now I'm upset that I don't have a free flow of the thing that's hurting me. I want a free flow of it because it's distracting me. This is why people talk about addiction, internet addiction or shit. And it's not something special. Like the thing not to do and what medicine wants to do, that's something new and special. No, there's addictive machinery inside of us that prioritizes the short term over the long term. Like, why does the person who's an alcoholic and knows that alcohol is hurting and killing them drink, right? Because it will soothe when they put the bottle up to them. It'll soothe in the short term. They know that, but don't have a better solution. So you look at what's in the short term at the expense of the long term. Isn't that what we're talking about? I want my 80-20 negative news. I'm mad I don't have it, even though it's hurting me. Right? We have the insight into what's going on inside of us, then we can handle things much, 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 much better, including, and maybe most importantly, with social media, because I don't think we understand how much time this short-term view, recruiting addictive machinery, losing the long-term perspective, we don't understand how much it hurts us. But I think when a barge hits a bridge and it falls down and we realize, oh, that would have been preventable, but it would have taken a lot of time, attention, prioritization, money, but we didn't do it. Then we think, hey, what's going on with us? Do we need to make a full stop and look at how we're living as a society, how we're projecting forward? Because we're getting worse and worse at it. Even people choosing a leader for X number of years. I mean, isn't it a danger that, say in the presidential race, we choose a leader who's going to lead for 4 years, but most people's view of their lives is now pushed down, not anywhere near 4 years. Like just fundamentally, how do you make a good decision 4 years in the future when you can't see more than this year, right? So it's clearly bad. I think there's no opinion. I mean, anyone can have an opinion about anything, but how could it be okay to not be able to think as far ahead as you're making decisions? Right? So I think it's very, very clear we have to change things. We have already made great peril for ourselves, and people get hurt and killed all the time because of the peril that I'm talking about. Most recently, people driving over a bridge or working on a bridge get killed. It's horrifying and predictable and avoidable. And it's a symptom of a societal sickness that I think we can change, where we go back to the basic principles of how are we taking care of ourselves, including our mental health. Am I curious about what's going on inside of me? Right? What I'm doing now, how might it be related to things that are in my head from when I'm a kid? If I'm saying that thing in my head doesn't matter because I was a kid, why the hell is it still in my head when I'm an adult? Right? So, we start being more honest with ourselves, honesty and curiosity, and we avoid a lot of problems, whether it's the veteran who starts drinking because they're difficult thoughts and memories inside and there's not a team feeling to deal with it and there's too much time for it, then we'll do that better. Also from the individual person through to, maybe we should take care of the bridges better, because guess what happens if we don't do anything? Eventually another barge runs into a bridge and knocks it over. Then we go, until the next one happens. I mean, it's not acceptable, and we can change it.